The storm had teeth. Elira pressed her back against the cave wall, watching sheets of violet rain slash across the alien landscape. 3 months on Kethera Prime, and she still wasn't used to the electric storms that could fry unshielded equipment in seconds. Her expedition team was 6 kilometers away, safe in the reinforced habitat. She'd been studying the crystalline formations in the northern canyons when the weather turned violent. Now she was trapped, alone on a world that didn't particularly care whether humans survived. The sound came from deeper in the cave, a wet, rattling wheeze that made her freeze. Elira's hand moved to the plasma cutter on her belt. Not a weapon, not really, but it had kept her alive twice already on this unforgiving rock. She activated her helmet's low-light vision and crept forward. The creature was small, no larger than a terrier, but Elira recognized the obsidian scales and the triple row of sensory quills along its spine, a Kytheran apex predator, or rather, a cub. It lay on its side, one hind leg bent at an angle that made her wince. Dark blood pooled beneath it, nearly black in the dim light. Every brief she'd received about Kethera Prime had been explicit. The apex predators were to be avoided at all costs. Adult specimens stood 3 meters at the shoulder, hunted in coordinated packs and could shear through reinforced polymer with their crystalline fangs. They were the reason the expedition kept motion sensors in a 2-kilometer perimeter. The cub's eyes, 6 of them, arranged in pairs along its elongated skull, fixed on her. Its wheeze became a low growl. Elira should have backed away. Protocol demanded she report the sighting and maintain distance, but she'd grown up on a farm station in the Terran Outworlds, and she recognized that sound. It wasn't aggression, it was pain. It was fear. Easy, she whispered, knowing it couldn't understand her. I'm not going to hurt you. She shed her jacket slowly, the insulated fabric steaming slightly in the cave's humid air. The cub tracked her movements, quills rattling a warning, but it was too weak to run. Elira could see the wound now, a puncture in its abdomen, probably from a fall onto the sharp crystal formations outside. Her jacket wasn't medical equipment, but it was warm and sterile enough. She approached centimeter by centimeter, murmuring in a low voice, the same tone she'd used with frightened livestock years ago. When she got close enough, the cub snapped at her, but its heart wasn't in it. Mostly it seemed resigned. Elira wrapped the small predator carefully, bundling the jacket around its body to apply pressure to the wound and keep it warm. The cub went still, either too exhausted to fight or dimly aware she meant help, not harm. There, she said softly, settling beside it. You're okay. You're going to be okay. She didn't know if that was true, but saying it felt important. The ground trembled. Elira's breath caught as the tremor came again. Not seismic activity, but footsteps. Heavy ones. The cub made a sound, half whimper, half cry, and suddenly she understood exactly how bad the situation was. The adult apex that entered the cave made Elira's hindbrain scream at her to run. It was massive, its scales glinting like volcanic glass, its 6 eyes luminous in the darkness. Behind it, 3 more materialized, blocking the cave entrance completely. The pack. The lead predator, and Elira somehow knew this was the leader, the alpha, perhaps the cub's parent, fixed all 6 eyes on her. Its quills extended fully, twice the length of the cub's, razor-sharp and vibrating with a subsonic frequency she felt in her bones. This was it. This was how Elira died, but the apex didn't attack. It approached slowly, lowering its massive head toward the cub. Its nostrils flared, twin slits that glowed faintly orange. It was scenting. It scented the cub. Then it scented Elira's jacket, wrapped around its injured offspring. Then it scented Elira. She held perfectly still as the creature's head swung toward her, those 6 eyes boring into her with an intelligence that was utterly alien, and yet somehow familiar. It could kill her in seconds, one bite, one swipe of those meter-long claws. The apex opened its mouth, and Elira saw rows of crystalline teeth designed to rend and tear. Instead, it made a sound, a deep, resonating note that echoed through the cave and seemed to vibrate in her chest cavity. Not a growl, something else. The other 3 predators responded in kind, their voices harmonizing in a chord that felt almost ceremonial. The alpha lowered its head further and did something Elira would never have predicted in 1,000 years. It pressed the flat of its snout against her shoulder, then her neck, breathing deeply, marking her scent. Then it stepped back and released another of those resonating calls. Elira didn't speak apex predator, but she understood anyway. She felt it in the way the creature's posture changed, in the way they arranged themselves around her, and the cub rather than viewing her as prey or threat. Something fundamental had shifted. She had helped the cub. She had wrapped it in her own covering, given it her warmth, her protection. And in doing so, she had been witnessed. The apex, Varric. She would later learn the human's approximation of its designation. Reached down and carefully, impossibly gently for something so massive, picked up the bundled cub in its jaws. The jacket remained wrapped around the small predator as Varric carried it deeper into the cave, to some den Elira couldn't see. One of the other predators remained behind, watching her. Not threatening, guarding, or perhaps ensuring she stayed until the alpha returned. Varric emerged without the cub and approached Elira again. This time it lowered itself to the ground, making itself smaller, less threatening. Then it did something that made Elira's eyes sting with unexpected emotion. It bowed its head. In the weeks that followed, Elira's team would document an unprecedented phenomenon. The apex predators, previously hostile to any human presence, began allowing research teams to move freely through their territory, but only if Elira accompanied them. Only if they carried her scent. Varric had marked her as something sacred, hallowed, the human who had shown mercy to the pack's youngest, who had given her own warmth to a creature that should have been her enemy. On a world where humans were fragile newcomers, Elira had become something else, protected, honored. A bridge between species forged not through weapons or diplomacy, but through one simple act of compassion in a dark cave during an electric storm. Humanity, it turned out, didn't need to be the strongest or the fastest or the most dangerous to earn respect in the galaxy. Sometimes, they just needed to care.